today we are going to refer to the planet Venus, one of the most observed and considered according to records found from ancient civilizations. The Sumerians called it Inanna, the Assyrians Ishtar, as goddesses, Isis for the Egyptians, Aphrodite for the Greeks and Venus for the Romans. The Mayans in the Temple of Uxmal had openings to follow the movement of Venus. At first it was believed that Venus were two different stars, since at times they were seen at dawn and at other times at twilight, until it was discovered that it was the same star. This happens since in its translation around the Sun, Venus appears as the morning star when it is closest to the Earth, also known as Lucifer in this position, and Hesperus when it is further away and looks like the evening star. Venus, like Mercury, are the only planets that do not have moons. In size, it is similar to the Earth, but its rotation is much slower. A rotation on its axis takes 243 Earth days, and the rotation around the Sun is 224 Earth days, making a day longer than a year on Venus. Another oddity is that, it is the only planet that rotates in the opposite direction compared with the other planets in the solar system. Venus was always considered in relation to love, beauty and fertility. In astrology beyond these concepts, it is also related to the arts, finances and creativity, and is the ruler of the signs of Taurus and Libra. Venus has another characteristic that may not be known, called the Venus Synodic cycle. This cycle, if we graph it in space, has a very particular shape, which is the shape of the five-pointed star. We see almost daily this figure in different symbols and advertisements. This aspect was already known in ancient times and was depicted in their temples. Venus has 584 synodic cycle days, with 5 synodic cycles every 8 years. This pattern repeats every 243 years, with a couple of transits that are repeated 8 years apart, with a long absent period that can range from 121.5 to 105.5 years. The next cycle will take place between December 10th to 11th, 2117 and December 8, 2125. Since Venus's orbit is located between the Earth and the Sun, when Venus passes between them, an event that with the Moon is called an eclipse, in the case of Venus, it is called a transit. The synodic cycle is related to the number 5, which contains 3 components, Venus, the Sun and the Earth. The number 5 takes on importance since, as we know, it is present in human beings in the 5 senses, the fingers and toes, the 5 parts of the body that separate from the trunk, as well as in nature in general. If we join the 5 points of the star from the outside, we obtain a pentagon. Another very well-known symbol. Both have been used throughout history in religious, political, and government-related issues. Each transit point is called a star point, and these points occur only in the signs of Aries, Gemini, Leo, Scorpio, and Capricorn. From astrology's point of view, the star points are considered as moments where the energy is magnified in relation to the themes associated with Venus. As mentioned, there are 2 very well differentiated versions of Venus, one of which is the morning star and the other the twilight or evening star. In the natal chart, depending on the position of Venus with respect to the Sun, whether it is positioned clockwise, Lucifer, or counterclockwise, Hesperus, the characteristics of the emotional aspect of the person can be determined. Those who correspond to Venus in the morning, Lucifer, tend to feel first and think later. They are natural and spontaneous from an emotional point of view, and open to new experiences. They usually recover quickly from a bad relationship. Natives who correspond to Venus of twilight, Hesperus, tend to be more reserved expressing their feelings. In contrast to the natives of Venus in the morning, when they have disagreements or bad experiences in the sentimental area, they keep the wounds alive, reviving them permanently, and they harbor a great resentment, which influences any future relationship. They have a hard time overcoming emotional problems. There is a book by Ariel Gutman related to the karmic effects of the star point, which explains the relationship of the date on which the star point happened before birth with lived events. Following the 8-year cycle from that starting point, the events at 8, 16, 24 and following years in that pattern, would have to be considered, since there is probably a relationship between the star point and circumstances in the sentimental and/or emotional aspects that occurred during these periods. Thank you for your visit. You can subscribe to our channel or to our blog at www.thenroads.com for other interesting related articles, and you can book your astrological consultation.